This is the story of the House of the Virgin Mary, the first of two that was located in Turkey, based on details dictated by Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich. There are actually two houses in this video. The first is in Turkey, and the second is in Italy. The first is the Ephesus house mentioned by Blessed Carlo Acutis, and this is the house in the mountains of Turkey that is associated with Our Lady and St. John the Apostle, in which it is rumored that they lived after the crucifixion. This would fulfill their fate because Jesus on the cross told John to take care of Jesus' mother Mary. The story of this house is written by Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich's biographer, Clemens von Brentano. The house was actually found twice, both times from documents dictated by Catherine. On October 18, 1881, relying on the descriptions in the book by Brentano, based on his conversations with Emmerich, a French priest, the Abbé Julien Gouliet, discovered a small stone building on a mountain overlooking the Aegean Sea and the ruins of ancient Ephesus in Turkey. He believed it was the house described by Emmerich and where the Blessed Virgin had lived the final years of her life. Abbé Gouliet's discovery was not taken seriously by most people, but 10 years later, urged on by Sister Marie de Mandat-Grancy, two Lazarus missionaries, Father Poulin and Father Jung, from Smyrna, rediscovered the building on July 29, 1891, using the same source for a guide. They learned that the four-walled, roofless ruin had been venerated for a long time by members of the mountain village of Cyrene, which was 11 miles distant, who were descended from the early Christians of Ephesus. The house is called the Doorway to the Virgin. Every year the pilgrims paid a pilgrimage to the site on August 15th, the date on which most of the Christian world celebrated Mary's Dormition Assumption. Sister Marie de Mandat-Grancy was named foundress of Mary's house by the Catholic Church and was responsible for acquiring, restoring, and preserving Mary's house and surrounding area of the mountains from 1891 until her death in 1915. The discovery revived and strengthened a Christian tradition dating back to the 12th century, the tradition of Ephesus, which was completed by the older Jerusalem tradition about the place of the Dormition of the Mother of God. Due to the actions of Pope Leo XIII in 1896 and Pope John XXIII in 1961, the Catholic Church first removed plenary indulgences from the Church of the Dormition in Jerusalem and then bestowed them all time to pilgrims to Mary's house in Ephesus. It is located in Turkey and is known by two different Turkish names, Meryem Aive or Meryem Ana. Basically, it's the same letters but divided into two words or three. In English, it's Mother Mary's house. It is on a mountain in the area called Mount Nightingale in the vicinity of Ephesus. While the Catholic Church has never pronounced in favor or against the authenticity of the house, the site has nevertheless received a steady flow of pilgrimage since its discovery. The Christian and Muslim pilgrims visit the house based on the belief that Mary, Mother of Jesus, was taken to this stone house by St. John and lived there for the remainder of her earthly life. The shrine has merited several papal apostolic blessings and visits from several popes, including Paul VI, John Paul II, and Benedict XVI. On the way to the shrine, visitors pass a keyhole-shaped baptismal pool. It is thought that an early community of Christians may have lived or were baptized here in seclusion in order to escape the nearby Romans. The shrine itself is not extensively large, but may rather be described as a modest chapel. The preserved stones and construction date back to the Apostolic Age as consistent with other preserved buildings from that time. Upon entrance to the chapel, a pilgrim is met by one single large room where an altar, along with a large statue of the Blessed Virgin Mary, is prominently displayed on the back wall. On the right center, a small room lies, traditionally associated with the actual room where the Virgin Mary is believed to have slept. Marian tradition holds that some form of running water used to flow like a canal in the smaller room where the Virgin Mary slept and rested, leading to the present drinking fountain outside the building's structure. Outside the shrine is a particular wishing wall where pilgrims have used it, tying their personal intentions on paper or fabric. A water fountain or a well is also located nearby, believed by some pilgrims to have miraculous powers of healing or fertility. In Clemens von Brentano's account, the Blessed Mother died there and was assumed to heaven from a crypt. This is entirely possible, because contrary to popular belief, Our Lady was assumed into heaven, but doctrine does not specify as to whether she died first, according to EWTN. If that is true, then Enoch and Elijah are the only two people who were taken to heaven directly without first dying. The other house associated with both Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich and the Blessed Mother is located in Loreto, Italy. This story is very complicated, with many twists and turns. There are many competing theories about the House of Mary. Search Basilica della Santa Casa on Wikipedia to begin your search for the truth. I will try to hold here to the Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich's connection. The Basilica della Santa Casa, in English known as the Basilica of the Holy House, is a Marian shrine located in Loreto, Italy. The basilica is known for enshrining the house in which the Blessed Virgin Mary is believed by some Catholics to have lived with Joseph and Jesus in Nazareth, as opposed to the story of the previous house near the end of Mary's life. Pious legends claim that this house was originally in Nazareth, but was flown across the Mediterranean to Loreto, Italy by 7 angels. The main focus of Loreto is the Holy House itself. It has been a Catholic pilgrimage destination since at least the 14th century and a popular tourist destination as well. The house itself consists of 3 stone walls. It is a plain stone structure with a door on the north side and a window on the west. The size is 31 feet by 13 feet by 14 feet high. Around the house, at the basilica, is a tall marble screen designed by Bramante and executed under Popes Leo X, Clement VII, and Paul III. The 4 sides represent the Annunciation, the Nativity, the arrival of the Santa Casa in Loreto, and the Nativity of the Virgin, respectively. Late medieval religious traditions developed, suggesting that this was the house in which the Holy Family, namely Mary, Joseph, and Jesus, had lived while in Judea at the start of the 1st century AD. According to this narrative, this is the Nazareth house in which Mary had been born and brought up, received the Annunciation, conceived Jesus through the Holy Spirit, and had lived during the childhood of Jesus. After Jesus' ascension, the house was converted into a church, where the apostles placed an altar, at which St. Peter celebrated the first Eucharist after the resurrection, on the altar of the apostles inside the house being venerated as the authentic one. Just before the final expulsion of the Christian Crusaders from the Holy Land, in order to protect the house from Muslim soldiers, the house was miraculously carried by angels and initially deposited in 1291 on a hill in Croatia, where an appearance of the Virgin and numerous miracle cures attested to its sanctity. The miraculous transition of the house is said to have been confirmed by investigations made at Nazareth by messengers from the governor of Dalmatia in Croatia. Blessed Anne Catherine Emmerich explicitly claims that the house was transported by angels, even to her own near disbelief. Quote, I have often in visions witnessed the transportation of the Holy House to Loreto. For a long time I could not believe it, and yet I continued to see it. I saw the Holy House borne over the sea by 7 angels. It had no foundation, but there was under it a shining surface of light. On either side was something like a handle. 3 angels carried it on one side, 3 on the other, and a 7th hovered in front of it, with a long train of light after him. Unquote. Analysis by Italian archaeologists and architects mentioned in 1906 reached the conclusion that the Holy House is built of 2 types of limestone found in Nazareth, but not in Loreto, or in other parts of Italy. The house features mortar between the stones, typical of first-century Palestine, but not of Italy. Graffiti on the walls similar and contemporary to those discovered at the Grotto of the Annunciation in Nazareth. The house has no foundation and stands directly on dusty ground, not cleared in any way, and containing snail shells, acorns, dried walnuts, and even stands atop a thorny bush. The three-walled house also fits exactly the measurements of the foundations excavated in front of the grotto in Nazareth, and those of the missing wall fit the grotto. The holy house is placed partially on a public road, connecting Recanati with Porto Recanati, its apparition forcing the magistrates of Recanati to build a diversion of the road. This makes an intentional construction at such a location look very improbable.